everyone. Welcome to Hell World, aka the airport in 2021. It is actually nightmarish here. Like, it could be a level of Dante's Inferno. It's just everyone in limbo getting rejected from their flight 24/7. I guess the rules just changed here in Canada for what you need to fly around the world. And I'm going to check in, and just everyone around me is getting rejected, either because they thought they didn't need a test because they were fully vaccinated, they were half vaccinated and got the wrong test, their test didn't come back in time, even though they gave it ample time to come back, and there's just all these arguments happening with the agents everywhere. It would be very stressful to work for an airline at the moment, but poor guy, one guy beside me, he's talking to the agent, and he's like, I called your airline, and they told me I didn't need a test. I was just taking a layover to Brazil. What the hell? I called you guys, and they're like, too bad. So sad. You can't do it. You gotta go get a test somewhere else, or they do have some testing centers here at the airport, but they're exorbitant prices, and they only open at certain times, so some people will miss their flights anyways. And I'm just even just sitting away from the check-in counters, everyone is talking about their tests and how something went wrong, or they're on the phone panicking and calling, trying to say when is it coming? My flight's in 2 hours. Oh no, it's not going to come for a day. What the hell? It's madness here. For me personally, I've just had my own little nightmare situation. I am usually very, very organized with this stuff. And you know what? I won't even say usually, because I was organized in this situation. I contacted a few of my friends that have been traveling back and forth to the States, and I was like, what do I need? What test do I need? And they were like, rapid antigen. You need PCR to get back into Canada, which is molecular test, but you can do a rapid antigen to get to the States. I was like, okay, sweet. Check all the travel websites, awesome. I check American Airlines, it's yep, rapid antigen. Now, to be fair, I think I checked them a few days ago, before a policy change that apparently went into place, but I checked everything. And I checked with my pharmacist yesterday. I was like, I am getting the correct test to go to America, right? Rapid antigen. And he's like, yep, 100%. We even cracked jokes. We were like, why don't they do this in Canada? Because they've got this bizarre policy where if you're gone for less than 72 hours, you can get your PCR test to return to Canada before you leave. Think about that for a second. You can get your test to ensure you didn't get COVID while you were traveling before you leave and go on your trip. It's just mind-boggling, my friends, mind-boggling. Whereas if they just did the rapid antigen test, they could know if you caught something while you were away. You get that back in 15 minutes, so that makes a heck of a lot more sense. But anyways, so we make that joke back and forth, and he's like, Canada needs to be utilizing the antigen test more. And get my test, go to the airport this morning, get to the desk, and they're like, oh, no, we changed that rule 2 days ago. 2 days ago, we changed that rule. Sorry. The websites, travel websites, pharmacies, not everyone's been updated yet, and everyone's but too bad. All right, cool. And no notification in the email or anything that was hey, warning, the rules have changed. So I was like, great. Anything I can do? Can I get it? Nope. There's none of the testing centers, even the rapid, you pay $1 billion testing centers are open before my flight leaves. So they reschedule me, and this is what I'm doing right now. I'm waiting for my next flight, and I have to go get a molecular test now. So I got to jump through the next hoop. And to get a rapid molecular test, my friends, do you want to know how much that costs? It costs $650. I'm hurting right now. I may look like I have money. Look at this jacket. This Louis Vuitton. I bought this for $250 at the thrift store, right? Relax. This was $125. $650 is a lot of freaking money, but I feel really bad because I'm already missing shows tonight that I was supposed to be doing in Dallas, and I'm going to miss everything that I was supposed to be filming today in Dallas. So at least I can make some shows tomorrow. I'm going live on You Are Here with Elijah and Sydney. was supposed to be 2 nights, now it's going to be 1. God willing, this ridiculously expensive PCR test goes through. I arrived at the airport at 4 a.m. to give myself ample time to be ready for my 7 a.m. flight. After being rejected due to having the antigen test instead of the molecular test, I was rescheduled for the next flight at 1 p.m. to Dallas. Many people missing their flights did so because PCR tests can take days to return, like 2 to 3 days. And you have to have your test within 3 days of departure, including any layovers. So it can be really stressful to meet that time frame. So the only option for them, and myself in this case, was the ridiculously pricey rapid PCR testing clinic at YVR, in which you receive your results in 20 minutes. That opened around 8 a.m. I figured I could nap until about 9. That was a terrible decision, because apparently no one knew the clinic at the airport was not going to be open that day. Okay, so the Bon Voyage clinic in the airport is closed. They gave me a piece of paper telling me to go to another clinic elsewhere. They've got 2. One is an hour away, one is pretty close, but the close one is only open at 11, so 2 hours before my flight leaves. This is all very cool. This is all great. Working, functioning well. I'm just waiting for a cab here. Hope we can make it. So I just got to the second testing site, and as I was getting in the cab at the airport, I mentioned to the cab driver I was going to a different test site since it was close to the airport, and he was like, oh, the girl getting out of the cab was just getting out to go to the rapid PCR test site at the airport because her test didn't come back in time and she's not sure if she's going to make her flight. So she's going to have to go do the whole same thing I just did, go up there, talk to them, and then get another cab to come over here to see if she can get a test here. Okay, so while waiting for the clinic to open, I emailed my pharmacist who assured me he had given me the correct test under CDC and Health Canada guidelines. So I did a bit more research, and some of you may remember Canada announced a ban on all unvaxxed travel after October 30th. However, they had put a stipulation in that this would only go into full effect November 30th to offer people a chance to get vaccinated or to complete their vaccinations so long as they provided a negative COVID test throughout the grace period. This included unvaxxed, partially vaxxed, and full vaxxed who had not waited 14 days yet. Now, Canada has always required the molecular test for entry, but usually for leaving, you take the test required by the country you are entering. What didn't seem to be common knowledge was under this Canadian grace period, people in these categories were no longer valid for the American rapid antigen. So none of the American sites, guidelines, or travel agencies were stating this was a requirement because it wasn't for them. It was on the Canadian end, really solidifying for me that during travel in 2021, you cannot trust anything you hear from experts on the phone. There are too many changes and too many factors for anyone to keep up with them. Hell, entry requirements to the States change again just November 8th. And these constant changes and arbitrary rules impact everyone regardless of your vax status. I was just surrounded by people, bamboozled by a sea of contradicting information.
Like literally 10 different people and they gave me different answers. And I'm like, yeah, like I came from Toronto and like Toronto was like, we can do antigen, like it'll be fine. I'm like, okay. And I think I got like my PCR.
Okay, so I just got my PCR test done at the Sheraton. There was another girl there who was going to Hawaii that had to get a new test, but apparently the restrictions there are super bizarre and complicated, and so they can't do a rapid test for it. Oh, by the way, that cost $624. But yeah, so she got there, and she had way more time than me. She had like 3 hours before her flight. But yeah, apparently they can only do next day tests for that, and she got the wrong instructions from the airline, so she's grounded and she has to pay for a hotel and stay the night and hopefully maybe make a flight tomorrow night. It's actually madness. All the people lined up there are like, we have no idea what's going on. No one can give us proper instructions. The wait times for airlines are like an hour, 2 hours to talk to them. I think this is my Uber. Bye.
I have never sprinted so fast in my life. I don't even know how I got on this flight. They let me out of security checking like 10 minutes after boarding.
So yep, I eventually made it to Texas, went on the show I was scheduled for. We had a great time, and now my butt is back here in my cozy pajamas in Canada. In order to re-enter, I did actually use the same test I took at that Sheraton Hotel clinic. That was my re-entry test to tell whether I'd gotten COVID while I was in Dallas, because that is apparently the policy. That makes sense. I have no idea how that would detect if I got COVID while I was away, but that's the rules. And that's why I want to make a rant at the end of this video, just about the bizarreness of everything I observed while traveling. And yes, I know there will be people watching this thinking, Lauren, why are you making this video? You clearly messed up here. If you can't read the guidelines properly, if you didn't triple check, well, sucks to suck. And you know what? Fair enough. Typically, I am someone who I'm very careful with following the restrictions put forward. I don't want to have more trouble traveling than I already do. So if I have to quarantine, I do it. Paperwork, I do it all properly. I don't violate it. I, make sure to check all the requirements necessary, and I will follow them. In this case, I missed something. I assumed it would probably be okay to trust the pharmacist. It would probably be okay to trust the CDC guidelines. Probably okay to trust the travel agencies and friends who had gone out recently. But I should have checked the Canadian government website as well, not just the Google search results, the airline, and all that kind of stuff. Especially considering I do research on recent policy for my work. So I don't have much of an excuse. However, I will say, for the average person, sitting down and doing heaps of research on constantly, weekly changing government policy cannot be expected of them. It can't. They outsource their research to the experts because people don't have time all day to do this stuff. They have normal jobs, so they hire travel agencies. They call the airline to tell them the policies. They hire lawyers, whoever it might be, to inform them on what they need to have ready. And seemingly, none of those people are on the same pages, no matter who you talk to right now. And it was just so depressing to see so many good law-abiding Canadian citizens and foreign citizens, no matter which side you were on, just getting screwed over by things that seemed completely out of their control, but by things that they seemed they were doing everything right. Like, I called the airline, I triple-checked, I called the pharmacist, I got all the tests done, or I got the test done and it takes 3 days and I can't afford a $624 test in 20 minutes. I have to do the regular one, and it just didn't come back in time. Like, the reason I find this so frustrating is because these constant changes by governments worldwide every week, are making it untenable for the regular person, no matter their politics or vaccination status, to survive or function in this current system. And I was just kind of slapped in the face with the reality of that while I was at the airport. It would suck. It would totally suck to be an airline employee too, because these people were telling me, they're like, we can hardly keep up with the hoops that you have to jump through. And our heart goes out to all these people constantly being rejected from their flights that they've been waiting months for to be reunited with their family, and there's nothing we can do about it. And we're giving out wrong information sometimes as well, because there's so much contradicting information as well. Sometimes the message that the airlines or border force are getting are different from the messages that are on the government websites right now. And it's just, it's crazy. It's no wonder there's just this stark mental health decline going on in the Western world. I look worldwide, and there are people who have done everything that would be perceived as right by those who want strict COVID law enforcement. People who got their vaccine, got one, who will do all the paperwork, everything, who can't travel right now simply because they got the wrong vaccine. Like millions of people in Hungary who got the Sputnik Russian vaccine that are now not allowed to travel within the EU Schengen zone or go to the US. I think it's as of November 8th or even before that. They had no way of predicting the restrictions that would be put on that vaccine. They just did what their state and medical care providers told them to do. And they're getting, a slap in the face. They can't travel now. I'm sure there will be changes and things put in place to allow them to travel at some point, but who knows? That's the thing nobody seems to know. It's just shifting constantly. And, it would be one thing if all of this nightmarish policy making and having to jump through horrible hoops constantly, if all of it were provably saving lives, if all of it were absolutely reducing the spread of a virus. But then you look at policies like that 72 hours, you have to get the PCR test, not the 30-minute antigen. But if you come back within 72 hours, you can use the same one before you left. I just don't understand how that would be helping. I cannot fathom it. Or just the regular ones, like you have a wedding, you have a party, but you can't dance. You can be around everyone chit-chatting all day, having drinks, but you can't dance. One of my favorites, you can have a wrestling contest. You can literally be all over each other wrestling on the floor, sweating on each other, spittling on each other, but you can't shake hands before the match. This stuff is crazy driving. And it was just so depressing to watch. I mean, it's been depressing to watch, but it was just kind of up close and personal when I was at the airport, seeing all of these distraught people. Obviously, I wasn't filming everyone I saw. I just kind of filmed that one conversation I had with the girl to prove that this is what I was experiencing. But there were people like nearly in tears on phones with their families saying, my test didn't come back in time. The rules have changed. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just felt the need to make a video for it, just in case some of you haven't had the beautiful experience, the incredible experience of traveling in 2021 yet. If you like mind games, you'll enjoy it. You should try it out. But if you want a bit of a palate cleanser after this depressing video, do check out what I filmed when I did make it down to Dallas. Slightly offensive, I think, on the last episode that was up, and you are here with Sydney Watson and Elijah Schaefer. We had a good time, and I guess all we can do is hope that some of the insanity reduces. I don't even know what to say to you guys. Oh, another little positive thing beyond the palate cleanser of my Blaze interviews. This is my first exclusive video on Odyssey. I am a big fan of this alt media platform. It seems to have like a good, I don't know, I've always been frustrated with alt media creating a bit of an echo chamber for one side, and I get it. There is absolutely one side being banned more than the other. Hint, hint, I think we know who. But in order to be effective when having political conversations, you kind of need the other side and everyone engaged in a website. People don't want to engage in websites where they cannot have conversations with people who disagree with them. And Odyssey seems to have a really good balance of different creators. So I'm going to try it out here. We'll see how it goes. I'm a fan. And I will probably make a few more little vlogs and videos that are just exclusive to Odyssey in the future. So please comment, please like, build up this little community here, and I will see you next time.